For decades, this is the place promoting independence and empowering people with all disabilities. Ability360 is a force in our community. And on the stage right now, we want to welcome President and CEO Chris Rodriguez and Vice President of Advocacy, April Reed. Eric, take it away.
All right, thank you, Vanessa. Yeah, let's hear it for you two. Now, my team knows I speak in sarcasm, and so what I'm about to say is true, and I want to make sure I get this right. This is incredible to have you guys both. Rarely do we have you both in the same room, but Chris, the CEO at Ability360, and Monique, did she leave? Yeah, she left because I was going to embarrass her. The CEO at UMOM, you guys were on the same D1 gymnastics team at Cal together, Berkeley?
That's right. We had the great privilege of attending the University of California, Berkeley, yeah.
And so will we see like a handstand competition or something?
Well, we're going to have a conversation around healthcare, so in that light, I might not do those things.
That's incredible. Wow, okay, we got that right. So many nonprofit leaders, community leaders we have featured this season have had to navigate some significant funding uncertainty, and one of the largest areas impacted, as we know, is Medicaid. Most of these changes, though, haven't been fully felt yet because many of them, don't take place till next year. But organizations like Ability360, they're not waiting for this impact to hit. They're already working on solutions to ensure people in our disability community continue to receive the support they rely on. So Chris, like many other CEOs in this room, we'll start with you here. We know your leadership has been tested. You're navigating policy changes, the funding cuts we've been talking about, funding uncertainty. But your job is to still make sure that your team shows up every day for the people you serve. So just from a leadership perspective, for others in the room, I'm just curious, what have the last several months been like for you?
Yeah, I appreciate, number one, I appreciate being on the show, Eric. Yeah. We appreciate the support and getting the word out and bringing everybody together. It's such a great question. I think our experience isn't unlike many of the organizations in this room, and that really centers around uncertainty. Yeah. Every day is a different challenge that can be unexpected. And trying to navigate those challenges can be, a very difficult thing to have to do. So every day is a little different. I think you have to be extremely creative and innovative in terms of how you approach these issues that affect not only your organization, but perhaps more importantly, or certainly more importantly, those that we serve.
So you're one of our partners, and there's a lot of new faces in the room, and the theme of these action solution panels kind of goes like this. We always talk about the challenge, we talk about the solution, and then we rally community around those solutions. So before we dive into the solutions, guys, when these Medicaid impacts hit next year, Chris, what will be some of the real world impacts that this community can expect to see? What are the ripple effects?
Yeah, specifically for folks with disabilities, there's so many great organizations that provide supports and services, but really the crust, the foundation of the most important supports and services that allow people with disabilities to remain independent in the community is Medicaid. And unfortunately, through HR 1, Congress, cut Medicaid by hundreds of billions of dollars, and there's just no way you can cut a program that is so important to so many people that deeply and not expect some devastating outcomes. Fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of the devastating impacts of that particular piece of legislation, of those cuts, as you mentioned, won't come to fruition until the end of next year. After the midterms, I think that was deliberate. But we're seeing state legislatures have to anticipate those things and seeing cuts already. So this means for folks with disabilities, we really pride in everything that we do in home and community-based settings, where we believe that quality of life is much greater than it is in more congregate type settings. Now, those are called HCBS services, and those are actually, unfortunately, optional services under the Medicaid program. And oftentimes when state legislators have to pinch their budgets as a result of things that are going on, very similar to what's going on right now, those optional services are the first to be cut. So that's going to leave folks with disabilities in a very vulnerable state to have to rely on more congregate type settings, nursing homes and institutional type settings, where we know statistically there's stronger prevalence of abuse, neglect, and exploitation, and certainly a lower standard of living. So, I mean, it really is devastating. It's really going back decades, and it really is an unfortunate circumstance, provided all the hard work that so many organizations have done over the past decades to create progress within that realm.
So April, so excited to have you back on the stage here with us, and the message obviously is pretty clear. This is going to hit a lot of families in our community very hard. I've always admired the leadership over at Ability360. Again, we spend time talking about the challenge and the problem, but you guys are constantly working around what those solutions could be. And one area, April, where you've really seen support is leaning in on caregiver support.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about why supporting caregivers is making such a big difference right now?
Yeah. Well, definitely as we saw the progress of HR1, we started to get calls from our caregivers.
Of course.
And we definitely heard concern, we heard fear, and just worry about what was going to be happening in the future. And we really, as a team, started to talk about what's our responsibility and how can we support them in a more in-depth way during this really challenging time. And so we came up with the idea of let's start with mini conferences. Mm-hmm. And so we created 3 conferences. We went to Tucson, we were here locally in several different places, and we just went to our caregivers and we gathered them together. And caregiving is a challenging role in any given time, at the best of times, right? Mm-hmm. But we just said, let's get them together and let's hear from them. And so we had an opportunity to just do listening sessions and say, tell us what you need, what are the worries? And then we also wanted to go beyond that and really wrap our arms around them during that day. And we created opportunities for them to have a little bit of respite, to engage with each other. They did arts and crafts, they did yoga and sound bowls with our staff, and just really create some space for them to just really feel supported and heard. And so out of those focus groups, they told us some things that probably weren't surprising, but just really put an emphasis on where we go next, which is they said we need information referral. So we've created specific caregiver guides for resources across the valley in Tucson and southern Arizona that tell stories for the caregivers, link them with resources, and it's simple, it's a short guide, but it's something quick that they can grab. And we also heard from them, we want support groups, we want more opportunities to connect. So we're writing curriculum right now, we'll launch those support groups later this year, and we also plan to do 3 more caregiver conferences across the valley in Tucson again.
Love that. That's you guys taking the lead and solving, and there are a lot of people in this room, obviously with high influence, a lot of resources who genuinely hear the message and say, okay, I want to help, but I'm asking myself the same question. Where can I make the biggest difference? How can I play a role in this? You've seen direct investments into the caregiver support already start to move the needle. There are corporate partners involved here, funders involved here, but you're also seeing a lot of movement moving the needle when it comes to advocacy. Tell us a little bit about that, and that's something we can all take away from.
Well, caregivers, I think, have stepped up, and it's been really empowering to watch our caregiver community here locally go down to the Capitol, whether they're a parent caregiver or family caregiver, or just work in that profession, and say, you know what, we want to educate our legislators and our leaders about what this profession does and what it means to our families and how essential these services are. And they've gone and sat for hours and gave testimony and stood in line to do that. And so it's just been really amazing to watch them tell their stories. And you see them educating people who maybe haven't had that experience yet of being a caregiver. I always look at it as, if you haven't, probably most of us will at some point in time. And I think our legislators and our leaders are listening to that community in a really different way right now. So that's exciting to see. And I think for all of us, what we can do is, if we haven't been a caregiver yet, really looking at that probably will happen. Mm-hmm. Let me get educated about what are the services, what are the resources out there, and then let me use my voice. And so when we go to the polls, when we go to vote, let's be educated about the policies and who's supporting that community and who's supporting funding for caregivers, and let's rally and make sure that those bills and those policies are put into place.
April, you're such a respected thought leader in our community in this space, and you're very familiar to a lot of the folks in the room, so you know the drill now. It's call to action time. What's your call to action to the leaders in the room?
I think I have a couple. So I think number one would be just to listen to our caregivers, right? They're gonna tell us what they need. And number two is go to them. Oftentimes I talk to people who say, well, we reach out, but we don't hear from a lot of caregivers. And that's not because they don't need the services, it's because they're tired and they're overwhelmed and they don't have the time. One of our caregivers told me a story about how an agency, she said they were so great, they gave me their website, they said, go, our programs are there. And she said, April, that Post-it note sat on my desk for months. I just couldn't get to it. And so I think if we can commit to that community that we're gonna be there, we're gonna go the extra mile, we're gonna sit with you and go through our website, those are the things that really are gonna make them feel supported and connected and part of the community during these challenging times.
Fantastic. Chris, before I let you speak, Chris is such a humble leader. What he won't say is that through this time, and we've been on calls together, watching your team, your leadership, you're going to Washington, you are doing everything April just mentioned. You guys are going so far above and beyond to make sure that those who you serve are going to make it through this. And I just want to say, hey, great job. Congratulations, just watching you go through this process and knowing other folks in the room, knowing that your leadership, Ability360, is leading the charge with this. So what's the reverse message? What are you asking community leaders for? What are you asking this room for?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Eric. And let me say, first and foremost, I have an incredible team that is rising to this occasion and thinking innovatively and creatively about solutions. We are spending a lot of time doing legislative advocacy, but one of the most important things, and I think STN, it's one of your pillars, is collaboration. We can't do this alone. We talk about Medicaid and trying to replenish a lot of the cuts from a disability perspective, but Medicaid touches so many other lives and so many other organizations. The people that they represent rely on Medicaid. Finding that intersectionality, finding that common ground to make sure that our coalition is as large as possible, I think is incredibly, incredibly important. So I would certainly say, collaboration. Next, I would say, taking care of yourself. We talked about it previously in terms of self-care. It is rough out there. Instability creates incredible stress, and stress for ourselves and stress for our staff, and most importantly, stress for those that we represent and we're trying to assist. So take some time to breathe, obviously. Every day seems to be a new challenge. But hang in there, and last but not least, vote. Absolutely vote in a way that April had described.
Well, thank you guys so much for your leadership. Let's hear it for April and Chris Rodriguez, everybody. Thank you guys.